The sky above Zyphara was a swirl of green and gold, as if the planet itself were alive and breathing. Towering trees with translucent leaves stretched toward the clouds, and rivers floated above the ground, glowing softly in the dim light. Birds with shimmering wings flew in patterns that seemed almost choreographed, their songs echoing through the vast forests. From above, the city looked like a jewel carved into the side of a mountain, its smooth towers reflecting the radiant sky. The aliens called this place home. But for most outsiders, it felt like stepping into a dream. Captain Ethan Hart stepped off the landing pod and adjusted his helmet. Humans were rare here, and Zyphara's beauty could not hide its strange, distant rules. The aliens were strong and intelligent, but they lived by discipline and silence. Expressions of fear, sadness, or joy were considered weakness, and most avoided showing any emotion in public. Ethan had studied this culture for months, yet being here made him feel like he was walking on the edge of a knife. He did not mind. Humans had a way of noticing things that others missed, and he intended to pay attention. The delegation had arrived to discuss science and diplomacy, but most of his colleagues were already swept away by the official ceremonies. Ethan, however, wandered alone, curious. He had always believed that understanding a world meant exploring it without filters. The floating rivers above cast a soft light on his path as he walked deeper into the forest. Each step revealed something new, a plant that changed color when touched, a rock that hummed faintly, and creatures with eyes that glowed like tiny lanterns. Yet, even amid such wonders, a sound caught his attention, a soft, almost imperceptible cry. It was faint, barely louder than the rustling of leaves. Yet human ears were made to detect such things. Ethan stopped and listened. The sound came again, trembling and small, like a leaf falling in slow motion. It was a sound he had heard before. Lonely, fearful, and calling out for help. He followed it cautiously, careful not to disturb the surroundings. The cry led him to a small clearing, where a young alien girl sat on the ground, her back against a luminous tree. Her skin shimmered in shades of blue and silver, and her eyes, wide and unblinking, reflected both fear and hope. She was tiny compared to the average alien, and she hugged her knees tightly, her soft cries breaking the silence that her people demanded. Ethan knelt a few feet away, careful to show he meant no harm. He spoke slowly, his voice calm and gentle. "Hello. Can you understand me?" The girl froze. Her large eyes locked onto his helmeted face, searching for signs of danger. Ethan did not move closer. He knew that in this world, trust had to be earned. Slowly, he removed his helmet, revealing his human face and soft brown eyes. "I'm not here to hurt you. My name is Ethan." The girl's breathing changed. She was curious but wary. She did not answer. Ethan did not push. Instead, he sat cross-legged a short distance away and waited. Time passed slowly. Birds flew overhead, casting patterns on the ground. Glowing insects hovered near the girl, yet she did not flinch. She seemed to sense something different about him. Finally, she spoke, her voice a whisper, almost blending with the rustling leaves. "Why?" Ethan smiled gently. "I heard you crying. No one should be alone when they are scared. I wanted to see if you were okay." The girl's eyes widened. Her people did not cry openly. They did not trust easily. Yet here was a human, a stranger from another world, showing concern without judgment. She shifted slightly, unsure whether to flee or speak more. "No one listens," she said softly. "I'm listening," Ethan replied simply. "You're not alone anymore." Her lips quivered, and for the first time, she allowed herself to lean slightly toward him. She looked around nervously, as if expecting someone to appear and scold her for breaking the rules. They don't care about me," she said. "They say feelings are weak." I don't matter. Ethan's heart sank, but he remained calm. Everyone matters. Everyone has the right to be heard. Even here. The girl stared at him. Disbelief and hope mixing in her gaze. No one had ever spoken to her this way. She had spent her life hiding, feeling invisible, while the world around her celebrated strength and silence. Now, someone acknowledged her pain without hesitation. You really mean that? She asked, her voice trembling. I do, Ethan said. I can't promise that everyone here will listen, but I will. Right now, I hear you. That's enough for today. For a long moment, the clearing was silent except for the gentle hum of the forest. Slowly, the girl uncrossed her arms and leaned forward. Her small hand reached out, hesitantly, almost instinctively. Ethan did not move. Instead, he allowed her to take the first step toward trust. My name is Lyra, she whispered. Lyra, Ethan repeated. It's nice to meet you. I'm glad I found you. Lyra's eyes shimmered as she realized that, for the first time, she was being seen for who she truly was. Tears welled up, but she did not hide them. She allowed herself a single, quiet sob, and Ethan stayed by her side. No words rushed to fill the space. He simply listened. Suddenly, a distant sound of armored footsteps echoed through the trees. Ethan's instincts kicked in. Alien guards were nearby, scanning the area for signs of the missing girl. He stood slowly, signaling Lyra to stay calm. Lyra hesitated. Fear flashed across her face. If they see us, they will punish me, she said. Ethan nodded. But I'll protect you. Just follow me. Without another word, Lyra allowed Ethan to guide her through the glowing forest, stepping carefully over roots and avoiding fallen branches. They moved silently, relying on each other's instincts. Ethan marveled at her knowledge of the terrain, realizing that despite her youth, she knew the forest better than any outsider could. As they reached a small cave hidden behind hanging vines, Ethan paused. This will be safe for now. You can rest here, and no one will find you. Lyra nodded slowly, relief evident in her eyes. For the first time in her life, she felt safe, even if only for a moment. Ethan sat beside her, not intruding, just sharing the space. I don't understand, she admitted. Why do you care? No one ever cared before. Ethan smiled softly. Because humans see value in every life. We don't ignore cries for help. We answer them. That's who we are. Lyra listened, captivated. She had never heard words like this. Words that offered protection, understanding, and hope. For a brief moment, the loneliness that had defined her life seemed to vanish. And in that quiet cave, under the glow of the alien forest, a fragile bond was formed, a bond between a human who chose to answer the cries he heard, and an alien girl who had been silent for too long. The world outside was vast, dangerous, and unyielding. But in that moment, Lyra knew she was no longer invisible. And Ethan, though far from home, felt the unmistakable pull of human purpose. To care, to protect, and to make a difference, no matter the distance or the odds. The cave was quiet, except for the faint hum of glowing moss along the walls. Lyra sat on a smooth rock, her knees drawn to her chest, while Ethan scanned the entrance. Outside, the forest glowed softly, the floating rivers casting ribbons of light through the trees. Ethan knew that even the smallest sound could alert the alien guards searching for her. He could not risk being careless, yet he also knew that hiding forever was no solution. Do they really punish you for crying? Ethan asked gently, breaking the silence. Lyra's eyes flickered with shame and fear. Not just crying, she said softly. Showing feelings, showing weakness. My people, they say it makes you useless. I've learned to hide everything. Ethan nodded. Lyra's gaze dropped to her hands. It is, I am invisible to them. Even my teachers, my friends, they do not notice me. They pretend I am not there. Sometimes, I wonder if I matter at all. You matter, Ethan said firmly. And right now, I see you. I know you are here. And I know you are brave. Lyra hesitated, unsure if she could believe him. Humans often said words like that without meaning them. But something about his calm voice and open eyes made her believe him, even if just a little. She let out a small, almost silent sigh, the first she had allowed herself in a long time. Ethan motioned toward the cave's back. There's a path through the trees that leads to the lower city. It's less guarded. If you want, we can explore it tomorrow. You can see parts of your world that others don't allow you to. Lyra blinked. You want to show me the city? Only the parts that are safe, Ethan said. I want you to see your world in a way that feels free, not controlled. What? Lyra nodded slowly. For the first time, she imagined a world where she could move without fear, where she could express herself without punishment. She had always believed that safety meant staying hidden, but now she wondered if there could be another way. The night passed quietly, with Ethan keeping watch at the cave's entrance. He did not sleep. Humans could rest lightly when needed. And tonight, he needed alertness more than rest. The forest noises were comforting in their own way. Crickets that sang in rhythm, the distant splash of floating rivers, and the soft chirping of insects that glowed like tiny stars. Lyra slept, curled into a ball, feeling safer than she had in months. At dawn, the forest looked different. Mist hung in the air, catching the golden light, and the floating rivers glowed brighter. Ethan gestured for Lyra to follow, and they moved quietly along the hidden paths he had memorized. She walked beside him, careful to mimic his soft steps. Her trust in him had grown overnight, fragile but strong enough to guide her choices. As they walked, Ethan asked questions about her life. What do you like to do when no one is watching? Lyra thought for a moment. I watch the skies. I listen to the rivers. Sometimes, I climb the cliffs above the city. No one can see me there. It feels free. That sounds amazing, Ethan said. You're brave. To find freedom, even in secret. Lyra's small smile touched her lips, almost shy. You think it is brave? Yes, he said. Because even when everyone else tells you that you are wrong, you find your own path. That is strength. They reached the edge of the lower city, where smooth towers rose like glass spires, and the streets were strangely empty for the hour of morning activity. Ethan had seen many alien cities in his travels, but Zyphra's architecture was unique. The buildings seemed alive, almost breathing, and the streets reflected the sky above so perfectly that it felt like walking inside a rainbow. Lyra's eyes widened. No one ever lets me come here, she whispered. It is beautiful. It is, Ethan agreed. But not everyone is allowed to see beauty. That is why we are here, quietly. Just you and me. They walked along narrow paths between towers, careful to avoid patrols of aliens. Ethan noticed Lyra's keen attention to every detail. The way she avoided the edges where guards could see her, the small hand signals she gave him to show when danger approached. She was small, but she was clever and aware. He realized quickly that her knowledge of her own world was just as valuable as his experience with humans. Suddenly, a faint hum reached them, a sound that did not belong to the city or the forest. Lyra stiffened. That is the experiment, she whispered. Her voice was low, urgent. They hide it here, in the lower city. It is dangerous. Ethan's brow furrowed. What do you mean? She swallowed, her small chest rising and falling quickly. Some of the elders. They use a device. It makes people less less able to feel. They call it control. But it is cruel. It takes away everything that makes someone alive. Ethan's heart beat faster. He had expected rules, silence, and hierarchy. But cruelty in this form was worse than he imagined. "We need to see it," he said carefully. "But not yet. We need a plan." Lyra nodded. "I know a way to get closer. No one watches this area because it is hidden. Only I know the paths. A. Cruce. Parliament. Lyra. Cruce. A. Cruce. A. Then you will lead," Ethan said. "I will follow." For the rest of the morning, they explored the hidden routes, moving beneath glowing arches and climbing stairways invisible from the main streets. Lyra pointed out tiny doors and passageways that led to places even patrols avoided. "This is why I come here sometimes," she said. "To see the world beyond the rules." Ethan watched her closely. Every movement was precise, cautious, but full of confidence in places no one else could enter. Humans had their skills, but Lyra's knowledge of her own environment made her exceptional. He began to see her not just as a scared child, but as someone capable of guiding him safely through danger. As they paused in a quiet alcove overlooking a small plaza, Lyra looked at him with wide eyes. "Why do you care so much?" she asked. "You are not like anyone here. Humans? They could leave." Ethan smiled softly. "Humans don't leave when someone needs help. That is part of who we are. And right now, you need help. That is enough reason for me." Lyra studied him in silence. For the first time, she understood that care could exist without rules, without fear, without expectation. Someone could simply choose to help because it was right. The morning passed with them exploring, laughing quietly at things Lyra had never dared to share with anyone else. Small moments became victories. Discovering a hidden fountain, watching sunlight reflect off a floating river, and avoiding patrols without fear. Each step built trust between them. Lyra felt alive in a way she had never known. Yet, as the sun climbed higher, a distant sound reminded them both of danger. Guards were patrolling closer now, their armor glinting in the light. Lyra's small hand squeezed Ethan's. "We must be careful," she whispered. "I know," Ethan said. Together. For the first time, Lyra believed it. Together, they could face the rules, the guards, and the hidden cruelty of her world. And for the first time, she knew she was not alone. The hidden path grew narrower as Ethan and Lyra moved deeper into the lower city. The glowing moss on the walls gave just enough light to see, but shadows hid every corner, making the air feel tense. Lyra led the way with careful steps, her small frame moving swiftly between obstacles. Ethan followed closely, trusting her knowledge, but also watching for anything unusual. "Are we close?" Ethan asked quietly, careful not to startle her. Lyra nodded. "Yes. Just beyond this tunnel, there is a place they call the Hall of Silence. It is where the device is kept. Only the elders go there, and only at certain times." Ethan's brow furrowed. "A device?" Lyra's voice was almost a whisper. "It takes away feelings. It makes people obey without question. They call it control. I saw it once. It is frightening. People laugh less, move slower, even think less. It is not natural." Ethan's heart clenched. Humans were strong, but he had never seen technology used to erase the very things that made someone alive. He glanced at Lyra and saw fear in her eyes, but also determination. She wanted to stop it, but alone, she was powerless. They emerged from the tunnel into a small, abandoned plaza. The main streets above were empty, but the faint hum of machinery echoed from below, vibrating through the walls. Ethan motioned for Lyra to crouch behind a low railing. She followed, holding her breath as the source of the hum became clearer. A tall, dark building with strange, smooth walls and lights pulsing in rhythm with the sound. "That is it," Lyra said. "That is where they keep the device." Ethan studied it. The building was guarded, though not heavily. The aliens assumed no one would approach this hidden area. "Do you know a way inside?" he asked. Lyra nodded. "There is a small hatch at the back, beneath the vines. I have never used it myself. It is dangerous, but it is our only choice." They crept around the building, keeping low. Ethan's human instincts for observation helped them avoid detection. Lyra led him to the hatch, which was partially hidden behind hanging roots and glowing plants. She paused, fear flickering across her face. "Are you sure you want to do this?" "I'm sure," Ethan said. "If we do not stop this, it will hurt countless lives. And I will not let it hurt you either." Lyra's hands trembled slightly, but she opened the hatch. Inside was a narrow passage leading downward. Ethan followed, careful not to make a sound. The air grew colder, and the hum of machinery grew louder. Small vents along the walls emitted faint, misty glows, and strange symbols marked the floors and ceilings. At the end of the passage, they emerged into a large chamber. Ethan froze, taking in the sight. The device stood in the center. A tall, metallic structure with glowing nodes that pulsed rhythmically. Around it, several aliens sat in trance-like states, moving slowly, their faces empty of expression. Lyra's hand went to her mouth. Ethan's jaw tightened. "We have to stop it. Can you show me how it works?" "Do this," Lyra nodded. I think so. There is a control panel behind the device. Only the elders know how to operate it. I have seen them press certain nodes. It is complicated, but I can guide you." Ethan approached cautiously. "Then, let's do this quietly. We do not want to alarm them until it is too late." They moved closer. Lyra's small hands guided Ethan to a section of the device where he could access the control nodes without being noticed. He studied the patterns, following her instructions carefully. The lights pulsed faster now, as if sensing movement. Ethan's heart pounded in his chest. One wrong move, and alarms would sound. Suddenly, a shadow moved near the entrance. Ethan froze. Lyra's eyes widened. "Someone is coming." 2 alien guards appeared, their eyes scanning the chamber. Ethan quickly ducked behind a console, signaling Lyra to stay low. The guards paused near the entranced aliens, then moved on, unaware of the humans hidden in the shadows. Ethan exhaled quietly, his hand gripping Lyra's. "That was too close," he whispered. Lyra nodded, her small frame shaking slightly. "We must hurry. Every second counts." They continued working, following the patterns Lyra had memorized. The pulsing lights dimmed, and the entranced aliens began to move more naturally, blinking and looking around as if waking from a long sleep. Ethan smiled softly. "It's working. They are waking up." Lyra's eyes glimmered with hope. "I never thought I would see this." As they finished, a loud alarm suddenly rang through the chamber. Guards had discovered the deactivated device. Ethan grabbed Lyra's hand. "We need to move. Now." They ran through the narrow passage, moving quickly and silently. Guards followed, shouting commands in their harsh language. Lyra led Ethan through hidden corridors, twisting and turning, until they reached a small exit that opened into the forest above. They emerged into the morning light, breathing heavily. Ethan looked at Lyra. "You did it. You helped save them." Lyra shook her head. "No. You did it. I only guided you. I could not have done it alone." Lyra, 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 shook her head. Ethan smiled. "We did it together. That is what matters." For the first time, Lyra felt a sense of pride. She had helped stop something terrible, and she had done it with the help of someone who believed in her. She looked at Ethan and realized that humans were different in many ways: brave, compassionate, and willing to take risks for others. The forest around them seemed brighter now, as if reflecting her renewed spirit. Birds sang overhead, and the floating rivers cast golden patterns on the ground. For the first time, Lyra felt truly alive, not hidden, not afraid. Ethan glanced at her. "We need to go back to the cave for now. The guards will search, but with the forest's paths, we can avoid them." Lyra nodded. "I will show you a new path. One, even I, have never used before." As they walked through the glowing forest, side by side, Ethan realized that the small alien girl had grown stronger in just a few hours. Her fear was still there, but it no longer controlled her. She had discovered courage in herself, and humans had a way of helping others find it. The morning passed quietly as they moved through hidden trails. Every step reminded Lyra that she was no longer alone. Ethan's presence was a shield, yes, but also a guide, teaching her that trust could exist even in a world filled with rules, fear, and silence. When they finally returned to the cave, Lyra sat on the mossy floor, smiling for the first time without hiding. Ethan shook his head gently. "Humans see value in life, Lyra. We answer cries that others ignore. That is who we are." Lyra's eyes glimmered with understanding. "Then, maybe not everyone is as lonely as I thought. Maybe there is hope." Ethan placed a hand on her shoulder. "There is always hope, and now, you have a choice. You can continue hiding, or you can help others see what is wrong and make it right." Lyra looked at him. Determination, replacing fear. "I want to help. I want to make things better." Ethan smiled. "Then we will do it together. Step by step, we can change things." For the first time, Lyra believed that change was possible. And for the first time, she understood the power of trust, courage, and friendship gifts that humans shared freely, even on worlds far from their own. The forest was quiet as Ethan and Lyra returned to the hidden cave. The sun was high, casting golden light through the translucent leaves. Birds and glowing insects moved as usual, unaware of the chaos they had helped prevent. Lyra's small hands traced the glowing moss along the cave walls as she walked in, her mind racing. For the first time, she had seen the true power the elders held, and she realized how much her people relied on fear and silence to control one another. Ethan studied her carefully. "You did well," he said. "You stayed calm, guided me, and helped stop the device. That took courage." Lyra shook her head. "I followed you," she said softly. "That is what humans do," Ethan replied. "We help each other. We trust, even when the odds are against us. That is our strength." Lyra looked at him, trying to imagine a world where bravery and care were valued over silence and fear. Her mind wandered to the Hall of Silence and the people inside it. She had seen the effects of the device on them, how it drained life from even the strongest minds. She shivered, realizing that it had almost destroyed everything she had known. "Ethan," she whispered, "there is more we need to do. The elders, they will not stop trying. They will make another device if they can." Ethan nodded. "Then we need a plan. We cannot just wait. We have to confront them and show your people another way. But we must be smart. This time, it cannot be just us." Lyra's eyes widened. "You mean, face the elders? That is dangerous. They will punish me. Or, worse." Ethan placed a hand on her shoulder. "I know. But you are not alone. Humans have a way of standing against danger, not by ignoring it, but by using our brains and courage. We can help your people see the truth." She took a deep breath, her fear mixed with a new determination. I will do it, she said. I cannot let them hurt anyone else like this. I want to change things. Ethan smiled. Good. First, we need to gather information. We need to know who is involved, what they want, and how they operate. That will give us an advantage. For the next few days, Ethan and Lyra moved quietly through the hidden paths of the lower city, observing the elders and their followers. They discovered secret meetings, devices in construction, and instructions being given to younger aliens to continue the experiments. Each discovery added urgency to their mission. Ethan taught Lyra to think like an observer, to watch without being seen, and to notice patterns that others ignored. She learned quickly, realizing that humans had a way of seeing connections that her people overlooked. Every detail she shared helped Ethan plan the next step. One evening, they returned to the cave after watching a meeting in which the elders discussed increasing control over the city. Lyra was silent, her mind racing with fear and anger. They do not see what they are doing, she whispered. They think it is for order, but it is cruel. They will destroy anyone who questions them. We will not let that happen, Ethan said firmly. We will show them a better way. But we must be smart. Rushing in will only make things worse. Lyra nodded. What do? We need to confront them indirectly, Ethan explained. We need to show your people that feelings, courage, and trust are not weaknesses. They are strengths. Humans have survived by relying on these things. Maybe your people can too. I'm counting. Tonight hard. The next morning, they returned to the city, this time using more open paths. Lyra led Ethan to a plaza where a crowd had gathered to observe the elders. Ethan noticed the faces of the aliens, some curious, some fearful, and some confused. None of them had been exposed to anyone challenging the elders before. Ethan whispered to Lyra, "Stay close. Watch what happens." Lyra nodded, hiding behind him as the elders began to speak. Their words were sharp and commanding, designed to suppress emotions and enforce obedience. Ethan observed carefully, noting the gestures and symbols they used to intimidate the crowd. Together, they moved into the open. Lyra stepping forward to speak. Her voice was small at first, trembling, but it carried an honesty the crowd had never heard. Why must we hide our feelings? Why must we obey fear instead of choosing what is right? The crowd fell silent. Aliens glanced at each other, unsure how to respond. The elders' eyes narrowed, their usual authority shaken by the girl's courage. Ethan stood beside Lyra, letting her know she was not alone. "You see?" Ethan said loudly, addressing the crowd in simple, calm words. "Humans survive because we trust, we care, and we face danger together. Strength is not in fear. Strength is in courage and compassion." The aliens murmured among themselves. Some looked frightened, but others looked thoughtful, as if they had never considered such ideas. Lyra's voice grew stronger, inspired by Ethan's words. "We can be strong without hurting others. We can be brave without obeying cruelty." The elders stepped forward, their presence imposing. "You dare speak against us?" one demanded. Ethan met their gaze calmly. "I am not here to fight. I am here to show a different way, one that does not take life or feelings from anyone. Your world can be better if you allow it." Lyra watched, amazed at his courage. Humans were so different, unafraid to stand up for what was right, even in the face of danger. Slowly, she began to speak to the crowd, showing them how they had suffered silently and how their lives could improve if they embraced courage and trust. The elders were shaken. They had never faced such open defiance, especially from a child and an outsider. The crowd began to whisper, some nodding in agreement, others questioning their leaders for the first time. Ethan turned to Lyra. "Do you see? You have power. Your words matter. Even here, you can inspire change. Lyra felt a warmth in her chest, a mix of pride and hope. For the first time, she realized that she could influence her people, not through fear, but through truth. She and Ethan had shown them that bravery and compassion were not weaknesses, they were strengths that could guide their world toward something better. By the end of the day, the elders retreated, unsure how to respond to a human and a child challenging their authority. The crowd dispersed slowly, talking quietly among themselves about the words they had heard, about courage and hope, about feelings and trust. Lyra looked at Ethan, her eyes shining. "We did it," she said softly. They listened, at least a little. Ethan smiled. "It is only the beginning. Change does not happen in a day. But we have started something. Your people will remember this day, and they will choose differently next time." Lyra nodded, her small hand brushing the glow of the moss. "I never thought I could be brave. I never thought I could help. But with you, I see that I can." Ethan placed a hand on her shoulder. "Humans survive by helping each other, and sometimes by helping others find their own courage. That is why we answer cries for help, no matter where they come from." Lyra smiled, feeling stronger than she ever had. Together, they had faced the rules, the fear, and the power of the elders, and they had shown that even in a world built on silence, one human and one child could spark hope, courage, and change. The sun began to set, casting golden and green light across the city. Ethan and Lyra returned to the cave, knowing that tomorrow would bring more challenges, more lessons, and more opportunities to make a difference. But for now, they had proven something important. Courage and compassion could shine brighter than fear, and even the smallest voice, when supported, could change the world. The morning sun bathed the forest in soft golden light, and the floating rivers shimmered above, casting reflections on the leaves and stones below. Ethan and Lyra walked along a hidden path, the air filled with the gentle hum of nature. The events of the previous days had changed both of them. Lyra moved with confidence, her small frame carrying a quiet strength, and Ethan noticed how her eyes now held determination instead of fear. They reached a small clearing overlooking the lower city. The towers sparkled in the sunlight, but something was different. The citizens moved with a lighter step, their faces showing curiosity and thought instead of fear and obedience. The elders had not disappeared, but their authority was weaker. Change was happening, slow but real. Lyra turned to Ethan. "Do you think they understand?" Ethan looked out over the city, smiling softly. "Some of them do. Others will learn. Change does not happen overnight. But today, people saw that courage and care are stronger than fear. That is enough for now." "Era." Lyra's eyes shone. "I never thought—" "You did," Ethan said firmly. "You spoke the truth, and people listened. That is how change begins." They spent the day moving through the city in small, careful steps. Lyra showed Ethan places that had been forbidden to her before: hidden gardens, quiet streets, and small plazas where children played without fear. She pointed out how the elders had controlled each space, and how even the smallest acts of kindness or bravery had been punished. Now, with the elders' authority shaken, people were beginning to explore freedom. Ethan watched her closely. He had traveled to many worlds, seen countless species. But what impressed him most was how quickly Lyra adapted. She had learned courage, and she had taught it to others simply by standing up and speaking the truth. Humans were not the only ones capable of bravery, he realized, but their presence could ignite it in others. As they walked, Lyra stopped near a small fountain in a quiet courtyard. She leaned over, watching the water ripple. "I used to come here," she said softly. "I would hide and watch the water, wishing things could be different." Ethan knelt beside her. "I cared. I still do. That is what humans do. We answer cries for help, no matter where they come from, no matter who hears them. Lyra looked up at him, her eyes reflecting the sunlight and a newfound sense of hope. Then, maybe my people can learn to care, too. Ethan nodded. They already are. Small steps, Lyra. Every person who saw what we did will remember it. Courage is contagious. As the day continued, Ethan and Lyra returned to the areas near the Hall of Silence. Guards and elders patrolled cautiously, but they noticed something unusual. The people they had once controlled now spoke quietly among themselves, questioning rules, questioning fear. Ethan and Lyra stayed hidden, observing, but they could feel the change spreading. Lyra's small hand gripped Ethan's. Do you see? They are talking, not obeying blindly anymore. Yes, Ethan said. And one day, they will act on those words. Your people have the strength. They just need someone to remind them. In the evening, they returned to their cave. The soft glow of moss and the hum of the forest welcomed them. Lyra sat. Her small shoulders relaxed for the first time in days. I never thought life could feel this way, she whispered. Like I am seen, like I matter. You do matter, Ethan said. And now, others will see that too. You have shown them what it means to be brave and kind. That is something they cannot take away. Lyra smiled, a mixture of pride and relief. She realized that her life had changed not just because of Ethan, but because she had found the courage to act. The human beside her had shown her the way, but it was her choice to follow it. Days passed, and the changes in the city became more evident. People smiled more openly, children played without fear, and even the elders spoke with caution, aware that their authority was no longer absolute. Ethan watched as Lyra interacted with her peers, helping them navigate the freedom they had rarely experienced. She guided them gently, teaching lessons of courage and trust without forcing them, much like he had done for her. One evening, as the sky turned shades of green and gold, Ethan and Lyra sat on a hill overlooking the city. The floating rivers glowed softly, reflecting the lights from below. Lyra leaned against him, her small frame relaxed and peaceful. Do you think things will stay this way? She asked. Change is always a process, Ethan said. There will be challenges. Some will resist, some will forget. But the seed has been planted. And the more people see courage and kindness, the stronger it will grow. At it, Lyra nodded, feeling a sense of responsibility and hope. I want to help it grow, she said. You will, Ethan said. And I will be here, helping you when I can. Even if I cannot stay forever, your courage will continue to inspire others. The forest around them was alive, the soft glow of rivers and insects casting dancing lights across the hill. Lyra looked out over her city, seeing it not as a place of fear and control, but as a place of potential, a place where courage and trust could thrive. She realized that her people had always had the capacity for change, they just needed a spark to light the way. Ethan stood and offered his hand. Come on. Let's walk a bit. Even small steps matter. Lyra took his hand, and together they walked along the forest paths, the sounds of the city and nature blending into a quiet harmony. Every step they took felt lighter, freer. The bond between them had grown not just as allies, but as two beings from different worlds who understood the importance of hope, trust, and courage. As night fell, the city below glowed with a quiet brilliance. People moved safely through the streets, exploring spaces they had once feared. The elders watched cautiously, but they knew the world was changing. Courage, care, and compassion had taken root, and even they could not stop it. Lyra turned to Ethan, her eyes reflecting the starlight. Thank you, she said softly, for hearing me, for helping me, for showing me what courage is. Ethan smiled, No one should cry alone, Lyra, and no one should face fear without someone willing to help. That is why I answered your cry. That is why humans are here to make a difference, even on distant worlds. Lyra's small hand rested on his arm. She felt a warmth, a connection that went beyond words or worlds. Together, they had changed a city, sparked hope, and proven that even the smallest voice, when heard, could transform lives. The night deepened, and the forest glowed softly around them. Lyra looked out at her city once more, feeling proud, hopeful, and alive. The future was uncertain, but she no longer feared it. With courage, compassion, and the knowledge that someone would always answer a cry for help, she knew that even the smallest being could spark great change. Ethan and Lyra stayed on the hill long into the night, watching the city, feeling the bond of trust, and knowing that the world they had touched would never be the same again. In that quiet, glowing world, a human and an alien girl had proven something powerful. That courage, care, and the willingness to answer a cry for help could create hope, change, and a future worth living for. And for Lyra, that knowledge would stay with her forever, guiding her, inspiring her, and reminding her that even in the darkest places, someone would always listen.